What's up, everybody? It's Alex from Heavy New York. We are at Champion Coffee outside St. Vitus, and we got round 3 with Pat of Fit for an Autopsy. Thank you for your time, man.
Of course. How are you today?
I'm doing great. I know things are pretty crazy first night of the tour, right?
Yeah. New York is a great place to start with a sold-out show, but it's also a very intense day just from getting into the city and load in all the way down to, being the first day and getting the bugs out. So it's a hectic day, but a good day.
There you go. Yeah. Hectic's always good. Busy's always good. Yep. First thing is always first. First off, Sea of Tragic Beasts, absolutely a beautiful record. Congrats on another great release. Do you just want to give a rundown on how the making of this record was, the recording, and all that fun stuff?
It's pretty typical for us. We have ideas, we pass them back and forth. Will is the main writer in the band, so he spends the most time with the riffs, and he sends us ideas, and we listen, and we critique things, and we pass ideas back and forth, and then he starts structuring the songs, and then we structure the record, and then we go in and we record. Now, it's like any other band. The only difference is Will's not a full-time touring member. He's a full-time band member, but he doesn't tour. And, he has the creative edge when it comes to what Fit for an Autopsy should sound like. So losing him would be completely detrimental to the band. So having him on board as a producer, engineer, and somebody who is such an essential part of the recording and writing process is pretty amazing,
Do you was the intention of this record to kind of just make a continuation of The Great Collapse, or did you want to completely go do something completely different?
I mean, we don't ever want to do anything completely different because we always want to sound like the project. But the record is it's a continuation of evolution. You know what I mean? We are constantly evolving, constantly moving forward as musicians, and constantly trying to create a new sound within our old sound. You never want to step too far outside of what you do because you want to continue pleasing the people that like you, but you also want to grow as an artist and a musician, and you want to be able to create a fresh sounding version of yourself. Sometimes people will go too far in one direction, too far in the other. So the narrow path is the way to go, but you want to explore within that path. You know what I mean? So Sea of Tragic Beasts is a continuation of the evolution of what we're doing.
Awesome. Yeah. I've noticed with this record is that I feel like while it was always Fit for an Autopsy, it definitely had what we all know and love from you guys. Every song really called for a different, it had a different vibe. I thought that
Sure.
No Man Is Without Fear is very different from Mourn, which is different from Warfare, and so on and so forth. Did the making of each song call for a different approach, or was there ever something was there maybe a similar formula that applied to all the tracks?
Well, I mean, writing for us is always a similar formula, but as far as creating a record goes, we didn't set out to necessarily say every song is going to sound different. We just started writing, and that's what happened. Will wanted to make each piece of music stand out individually, but it wasn't necessarily the idea of, everything is going to sound different every time. It's more the idea of, I just have this feeling, and I wrote this thing, and, Will always says he tries to write riffs that sound like the way he feels at that particular time, and which is what we all kind of do. But for this record, he really went out there and reached for a lot of things. Like Napalm Dreams, that last track on the record, is such a different vibe for us. And I mean, we got compared to some bands that are so far outside of our genre, and I think it was Metal Hammer maybe that said we are as much the Deftones as we are death metal, and that's the craziest compliment that anybody can ever get, to be compared to such an eclectic project like the Deftones. Look at their catalog of music. It goes from being this new metal-y, heavy kind of thing all the way down to this insane atmospheric post-rock kind of influence. The band's incredible. So to be compared to those kinds of people is mind-blowing. You don't expect that. Yeah. So I'm really proud of what Will did and what we're doing as a band, and the live show is picking up, so we're trying to do the thing that you were saying, create a show and an album feel out of every song live, because Will gave us the avenue to do that. So it's interesting.
When it comes to playing live, you actually just led me into the next question, because when you play live, is it a completely different energy, like on how you approach the song when you're interacting with an audience and you're in a venue, or is there maybe like a similar method behind the madness to just playing guitar in general versus the studio or practice space?
All right, we're going to get into some truths. We're going to talk about truths. If the crowd is into it, and like tonight's a sold out show for us. It's first night of the tour. It's going to be crazy. So if the crowd is stoked and they're going crazy and I connect with the crowd and I get that feeling, and our music is heavy and angry, and if they're feeling what I'm feeling, then yeah, I'm going to be 110% into it. But sometimes you got to be an actor too, because you go out and you play with some bands that maybe their crowd doesn't love you, but you still have to put on the performance. So then I have to reach inside myself and take the energy from me. I don't get to have that kind of interaction with the crowd. So it's not necessarily acting per se, because I'm still feeling it, but there's no connection there. So I have to connect with myself, and that's just the way it works. And being a musician is a lot. It's like 5 parts creativity, 2 parts for what I do, being angry, and then 3 parts being able to connect to the people who like the music when you're playing live. You know what I mean? To complete the package, because you get on stage, and if you're a comedian and nobody's laughing, you got to figure out a way to keep that act going no matter what's going on if you want to keep your job. You know what I mean? So it's interesting. It's tough. It's tough, getting up there and not getting that response and feeling the energy, and you just dip right down. It's like, man, somebody put a Red Bull on stage or something, because I got to keep this going. You know what I mean? Yeah.
And I've also not only seen, because I've seen, this is like my 7th Fit for an Autopsy show or something like that. Mm-hmm. And I've noticed not only might not be really relevant, but like I saw you play at like a smaller, more intimate venue like St. Vitus. I saw you play at Knitting Factory, but then I've also seen you play at like a big like 23 cap venue like PlayStation Theater. Does like the live presence change depending on the type of venue you're playing into?
Well, that's a lie. I super like small venues. Growing up in the hardcore and punk scene in the tri-state area, playing clubs like Coney Island High and CBGB's and all of those places, like you get an opportunity to play in a place where it's small, and when people are singing along, they're like so close to you that you can hear them over the music, and there's like spit flying out of their mouth, and you're covered in people's sweat and spit, and people are jumping off the stage. Like, that vibe is incredible to me. And I always said, like, yeah, I want to be the kind of band that plays like 5,000 cap rooms one day. That would be amazing. But if I spend the rest of my career playing 3 to 5, 700 cap rooms, and it's small and intimate, and the people are stoked on it, then that's a perfect career to me, because there's no more energy than like a 250 cap room packed with 350 people, like smashing into the stage and screaming along and, grabbing you and touching you, and like this organic feeling. Now, don't get me wrong. A big stage is amazing. Huge sound on a stage where it's as loud as a club is amazing. I love that too. Going to Europe and playing those big festivals, that may be the only chance I ever get to play in front of 75,000 people in my life. But hometown small shows, dude, they're the fucking best. Yeah, I love it.
Well, I asked Barney from Napalm Death this, because that I feel like a band like you or even them, like they thrive on crowd interaction and the pitting. So like, but they also played with Slayer. Like, if you're like playing at a venue where there's a barrier and maybe more strict security, I thought could like if somebody may have only seen you at like the Hatebreed or the Arch Enemies or at a PlayStation Theater, do you think they may have not gotten the full Fit for an Autopsy experience?
I think they got the full Fit for an Autopsy experience that is called for in that area. If you want to see Fit for an Autopsy for real, come see us at any show. If you want to see Fit for an Autopsy jump into the stage and splash of water in your face and like grab you by your face and pull you on stage, then you come see us in a small club. You want to see us on a big stage and watch us run around like maniacs and jump off of drum risers and put on a show, then you come see us there. I think that's in the eye of the beholder. I like it both. I like both things, but I can't throw my guitar into a crowd of people in a 15,000 cap stadium set up and expect to ever see it again. But I can do that at St. Vitus. You know what I mean?
Hey, that's a challenge. You should try it. You should try it one day.
My guitars are very expensive.
Just bring like a cheap like beginner Strat. Just try it.
No, I don't think so. I don't want to hurt anybody with my equipment. You know what I mean? So yeah.
And the final question I wanted to ask you is, when it comes to like, I brought this up like the other two times I've interviewed you, but like going from like Arch Enemy to Sepultura and Obscura to Hatebreed and all these different styles of bands. Obviously, there's a different reaction, but now I feel like now, especially with this new record, you've experimented so much with your sound. Can you picture maybe like adjusting your set list depending on the tour you're on, or are you just gonna go full on pedal to the metal?
I mean, no bullshit. We do that every time we do a tour. Of course. Like we went out with Trivium, and we did that Trivium Arch Enemy tour, and it was like shit. Like we're out with Arch Enemy, which is this like, melodic death metal, super heavy band, and then we're going with Trivium, which is kind of like a newer style metal band, but like, along the lines of like, I don't know, like the Panteras of the world kind of thing, like musically in that world. And so you have to like figure out what's going to cater to both sides of the crowd. Like we got some real super metal folks, and then we got some like new metal folks, and then we got, of course, we play the stuff that we feel is going to translate better to those people, and then we play some stuff that we want to play. But like when we play with Hatebreed, we're like, all right, we're going to play the bangers. Like we're going to play the ones that are going to get people kicking up dust, and I want to see people smashing into each other and stage diving, and and plus Terror was on that tour, Obituary was on that tour, Cro-Mags were on that tour, so that was a crazy one. And then we've gone out with Die Artist Murder, and then we can play any of our music to that kind of crowd because the crowd loves everything, and it's you want to play what you want to play, but you also want to make that connection. And the only way you get to do that is by playing to the crowd. Sometimes it sucks. Sometimes I don't want to play certain songs, but the crowd wants to hear them, and that's what we're going to play. But I love playing to people that have never heard our music before. I love winning a crowd over, like walking out and seeing these guys, this metal dude that's wearing like some obscure like Swedish death metal shirt that's there to see like one song from one band, and he's angry that he has to watch you play. I love connecting with that guy and then like going through the motions and doing it, and because you've seen us, like we mean it. We love playing live, and we have a very different vibe when we play live. Like you meet us, we chat, we hang out, we talk, but when we're on stage, we're there. And you connect with that guy, and you make that guy smile or make that guy bang his head. Even if it's only 10 seconds in one little part, I got you. And that's it. And that's all I need. I've done my job for the night. There's just like these little wins in there. And, dude, I never thought my band would get here. Never thought we would sell so many records off the rip with this new album. I never thought, people would... We packed our own pre-orders on this tour. Like last night, we finished packing and mailing the pre-orders. I think they went out this morning. And we did it all ourselves. Like we're still like a grassroots, like hands-on kind of band, but I don't know if we're going to be able to do that next time because it was so overwhelming, the amount of people that bought in. So to be able to even have the ability to pick and choose our set lists for these shows and to go out with these big bands and have so many people care is crazy. So it's awesome, It's guys like you that help, and it's the fans of the music that help, and it's the club owners and the labels that help. Nuclear Blast coming through with this new, contract for us, and like going out with all these crazy bands. Matt from Trivium helping, Michael Amott and Jeff Loomis from Arch Enemy, like watching our sets at night and giving us motivation, and going out with Sepultura, the guys who've been doing it for 25, 30 years, and like them like doing that. Trevor from Obituary wearing our shirts, and like that shit is crazy, dude. Like I'm still a fan of music, so I feel real lucky. And I'm lucky to have the opportunity to do any of the things that we're talking about. So,
And we're very lucky to have a band like you that is able to write music that is very, I would say, very great to connect with. So.
Well, I feel like there's people that get it, and I'm noticing that more and more we're catching on, and I want to thank everybody for giving a shit. You know what I mean? It matters to me,
I like showing it to people who don't get it because you get to be the teacher then.
Yeah, I think people hear our name and they think one thing. Yeah. They're like, that's going to be a deathcore band. It's going to be nothing but breakdowns. And then they hear our record and they're like, well, I didn't think it would sound like this. There are people that compared us to bands that we sound nothing like just by hearing the name of our band. And we kind of did that to ourselves. In the beginning, we sounded like one thing and we've evolved. But I just love watching people be like, whoa, what's this? And then I'm like, oh, that's my band. And they're like, this is your band? I never knew it sounded like this, you know? So it's cool. But, yeah.
Bands with the most brutal names are usually the nicest guys. Cannibal Corpse, Dying Fetus, Goat Whore.
Yeah. Well, we did a tour with Goat Whore. That was the craziest tour ever, dude.
Yeah,
Those guys
Sepultura, right?
Yeah, those guys are the sickest dudes. If Sammy and Ben see this, I love you both, and I miss you, and I hope you hate my pink shirt.
I saw them play at a wedding, and I'm not even joking.
I wish I was at that wedding, dude. That's so sick.
I sadly don't remember most of it. But thank you so
Hey, man,
much.
thank you so
Just
much, as usual.
anything else you'd like to promote? Obviously, for this brand new record cycle, you're on tour right now with Rivers of Nile, Lorna Shore, and Discarnate. I know. Is there just anything else coming up?
Well, we do, it's Fit for an Autopsy, Rivers of Nile, Lorna Shore, Discarnate for the first half of the tour. And then when we get to L.A., Rivers has got to go off and do some business stuff, and we're picking up Last 10 Seconds of Life. So then the tour will change, and we're going to be out with Last 10 for the remainder of that tour. And by the time this airs, it will be announced, so I can say it. We sold out St. Vitus first day of tour, and because of the sellout, St. Vitus has asked us to come back last day of the tour. So we're adding one extra date on the end of the tour, and unfortunately, Discarnate couldn't make it today because their visas got all screwed up coming over from Europe, but they will be on the last show, and Last 10 will be on the last show. So if you missed Discarnate today, or you like Last 10 Seconds of Life, come the last day. That will be October 24th. And Cognitive is playing tonight, and they'll be on the next 3 dates because unfortunately Discarnate couldn't make it. And we want to thank the Cognitive guys for, coming out and playing these few shows for us and filling the gap. And they did it this is real shit. Last minute, their drummer flew in 6 hours to play the show. They got the call yesterday afternoon. That's how you do it. You want your band to get ahead? Play as many shows as you can and make those kinds of sacrifices. And that's how you do it. You know what I mean? So Cognitive will be on these next few shows. And then the last date of the tour, again, will be October 24th, right back here at St. Vitus.
November,
and November 24th. November, not October. Today's October 24th. November 24th, 1 month for today. Right across the street. So if you missed it, we'll be back. Awesome. Let's sell it out again.
Thanks as always, Patrick.
Awesome, man. Thank you so much.
Everybody, Pat of Fit for an Autopsy, Sea of Tragic Beasts, out on Nuclear Blast. Pick that up. This is Alex from Heavy New York. We'll see you next time.